Let's talk some more about this developing story. We're coming to you live here, the special edition of this weekend in Cape Town. I'm joined by the chairperson of the Western Cape Community Safety Committee, Reagen Allen. Reagen, thank you so much for joining us. You're here as a representative of local government, provincial government. The reaction from those you represent?
We are in understanding Friday the 13th. It's often seen as an unlucky day, as a bad day. But considering the events of yesterday, it could spiral, and I wouldn't want to sound superstitious, but it could spiral into retaliation. It could be further flare-ups that could keep communities hostage. We have seen gangs and gang violence contribute towards people not being able to live as free as they want to, and we are very concerned because there could be flare-ups, especially during this December time.
Now, superstition is one thing. This is very real life for millions of Cape Town residents. They know how this goes. They've seen this movie before. We're seeing high-profile members of a gang being gunned down. They know what's going to come. Kids are going to be ordered to come inside earlier, not be outside, close the doors, keep their heads below the windowsill. And again, we're hearing from local government saying we're concerned, gangs have a stronghold, we need to do better. At what point do we stop hearing the same old quotes coming from the same people?
I totally understand with you. Growing up in Mitchell's Plain, I'm totally aware of the effects of gangsterism. And if you look at what needs to be done from all spheres of government regarding law enforcement, regarding the criminal justice system, it is saddened the fact that if we have detectives that are overburdened, that are unable to carry out a job that will see successful prosecutions, it leads to a space where gangsters and criminals are free to roam the streets without being held accountable for their actions. So yes, action needs to be done, but also the community needs to play a role. Earlier on you were mentioning regarding community members are able to go to gang members, to get food, etc. And that's a real reality.
Social ills, yeah.
Which stems down to poverty, unemployment, etc., which are real factors. Hence, the whole society approach is so needed, where you look across all government departments to play its role, to see how can we not only address the legacy of apartheid that is perpetuated in these areas, but how can we bring about a sense where people are safe and free and secure.
We've seen a lot of developments over this last year. There was a flare-up in gang violence earlier this year. There were those horrific killings in Philippi, and then there was the decision to bring the SANDF. And there was criticism immediately saying, this is great, we're going to help make communities feel safer for as long as they're there, but as soon as the SANDF leaves, we're back to square one. And then we finally sort of started to see better communication between local government, SAPS, national government. There was a big announcement by local government on more money being spent on what they can do in terms of law enforcement. Where are we now in that ongoing quest to try and get better communication so the residents of the city can feel safer?
In terms of the prof joints, where national or local government and provincial government together with law enforcement come together, that communication is ongoing, and that should even improve in my view. Having said that, we know that bringing the army was never a silver bullet, but it was a mechanism so that SAPS can actually perform their work. The fact that SAPS are under-resourced and understaffed, we understand that there's many good people in SAPS that are doing amazing work, but more needs to be done in that regard. Hence, we are welcoming the appointment of the new provincial commissioner to see how can communication continue in that regard, and how the PC for the Western Cape can now approach the committee and see how we can work together to bring about a safer environment, because the bickering, the infighting must stop. Ultimately, we need more boots on the ground, but also to address all the social issues.
Now, you said earlier you're from Mitchell's Plain originally. You told me earlier your father still lives there. You have other family members there. What are the conversations that you're having with your family at this time?
We actually talk about, I have a younger brother, and one of the gang members within the Westridge area that we grew up with, we saw him around. My brother told me a very alarming story, that he was told that he should not only join the gang, but how cool they are, and that they are now youngsters, 18, 19, that is coming up, but gangsters are looking at him gangsters are trying to recruit them to see how they can not only fill their numbers, but contribute to crime. And it's very alarming, the fact that we have tons of absent fathers in the city of Cape Town that unemployment that needs to play a role. And it is a sense, and my message to youngsters would be to stay clear from drugs, stay clear from gangsterism, because there is a way out. We know that we make informed choices that can lead to a space where we are able to contribute to society instead of taking away.
Contributing to society is obviously the goal, but sometimes you just want to contribute to putting food on the table. And the easier and more immediate way out would be a life of crime, unfortunately. And that creates a vacuum because there's no other alternative immediately in sight.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Western Cape Community Safety Committee Chairperson Reagen Allen, thank you so much for your insight and sharing some of your own personal story as well as we broadcast to you live here from Cape Town.